Check. All right. Hello, guys. Thanks for coming today. Do you guys mind just sit like a bit front, just because there's not so many people at the moment showing up. So do you want to just come over if you guys feel comfortable? Yeah, really depends. And so we probably gonna switch to. Oh, it's already on live now. All right. And first of all, thanks for joining us today, and especially for you guys who can make to come in person, and then also for those who are watching the live streaming at the moment. And also thanks the Music Hackspace and also the support from Derivative Touch Designer. Just a bit of introduction about the space. We're in UCL, and here is campus, and here's actually where I graduate, and it's so excited to be back. And maybe last time presented here is it's my graduate project, so it's nice to be back. And thanks for the colleague and the help from the students. And without you guys' support, we cannot do this today. And well, and also thanks to Rory, who is the director of the course, which is called Design for Performance and Interaction, and also to Michael, who is a tutor of this course and also is the AV specialist who set this all up. And what else? And let me introduce James, who is the current student of Design for Performance Interaction. Probably just pop the mic.
Hi, I'm James. I'm a software developer and I'm a student at the DFPI course, and I'll be helping out with the streaming today.
And also Chichi.
Hi, I'm Chichi from DFPI too. I'm an architect and also an installation designer.
Yeah, all right. So, yeah, both of them spent like days and helped me to set this all up. So just special thanks for them. Well, I will give a short brief of our speakers here today, and then I'm going to stop talking to give the mic to Hanzo. The first speaker is Hanzo Schwarz. Yeah, hope I pronounced your name correctly in Germany. And he's an audiovisual artist and a multidisciplinary designer. And we got to know each other probably back to early 2019, and in the workshop. And he did loads of amazing audiovisual art and installation you guys are gonna see later. And next one is Sherry Yang, and who is also the current DFPI student, Design for Performance Interaction student. And she's gonna share some of the wonderful work that she did last year from a touch designer workshop. Like it's a 2 weeks workshop that I host before, and her project is quite amazing. So we'll be happy to have a listen. And also Ian Callender, who cannot be here today, but who also studied in the same workshop that Sherry did, and he recorded a video for us to sharing his work. And my name is Lu Yang, and I'm the host and also one speaker today. I'm a digital artist and a major in architecture before, so I like to create experience that is interactive and also spatial. So, well, now I'm gonna shut up and give the mic to our first speaker, Hanzo. Thanks.
Hi. So I'm Hanzo. Thank you very much for having me. Thanks to Music Hackspace, Touch Designer, UCL, for organizing this. I let a set run in the back, so if you're getting bored, hopefully you can enjoy the set. It's Valentino Mora from the Parallel Festival 2018. You can find it on SoundCloud, so it's really good. So I'm a visual artist and creative director of in the studio. I collaborate with people from different disciplines and we worked on creative projects. My focus is on real-time animation, content creation for events like visuals, installations, and music videos. My background is communication design or visual communication, graphic design. I started out in Flash a while ago. Then I moved on to 3JS and coded everything in 3JS. All my visuals were running in 3JS, so it was running in the browser. Then I came across Touch Designer, and now I'm working with that and Notch. So the first project is Ecosofia. Ecosofia is it's an artist residency in Chile in Valparaíso. It's a project based on Felix Guattari's Ecosofia. His idea is like to change the world, you have to change the society first before we can change the environment. So we came up with a concept and developed a show of like 30 scenes. We had to cut it down to 20 scenes because it was too much. We worked with some acrobats together, incredible people, Tim and Banner, movement director Camila, also in sound, Ignacio, Claudio, and then Christian on for documenting, and Anna for as a costume designer. Everything here was running in Touch. We didn't have much time because we had so many scenes. We rehearsed in Valparaiso and staying in Santiago, so we had to rehearse in Valparaiso maybe for 3 days, packed everything together every day in the morning, came back to Santiago and continued to develop the show there. There were loads of obstacles in Chile. It's quite cold in May, June, July. We had the rehearsals in an ex-prison, which is an artist, which just changed to artist space for contact improvisation, dance, and all these kind of arts. So in winter, it gets really cold there. On top of that, like there were strikes happening 2 weeks before our premiere. So all venues, or like, I think there was only one which basically was not on strike. All the other venues were on strike, so we had to change all the venues in 2 weeks. All the advertising, everything on top of the last bits of rehearsals, which usually get quite tight towards the end. But yeah, everything worked out. We used OneConnect for this project. These acrobats, usually you leave the area left and right, but in this case, they were jumping out to the top of the range of the Kinect. So we had to adjust some things a little bit. But yeah, everything worked out in the end. So this one, a fire motion tracking from one of the scenes. Cool. Next project is Desiato Florido. It's a collaboration project with Pascal Savy, a French sound artist based in London. He works with drone sounds. It sounds like a spaceship is about to take off or is about to land. We have we have been working together for like maybe 4 or 5 years. And then during pandemic, we were asked to do a performance, which obviously was not possible. So we had like we had email contact about some ideas, what we could do, and had the idea of trying to get the feeling of the pandemic into our performance or into this animation. So it's basically like the feeling of like you have no idea what's going on. Probably most of us had the feeling like you're questioning everything, what's happening, what you're doing. So the desert in the Atacama Desert in Chile is one of the driest spaces on Earth, and the whole set is basically you're just in that desert, and it's getting weirder and weirder. So, however, on this driest place on Earth, once in a while, every few years, there's so much rain falling down that for some reason there are like loads of flowers covering the whole area of this desert. And no one can explain why this is happening. It's not just a few, it's like an ocean of flowers. It's incredible. Like, if you ever, during that time there, you should go. So there's always hope. So that's the idea of this performance. It's like everything was rendered in touch. Some part, I think this part here is done in GLSL. And yeah, you can find it online and can watch it. Yeah. So worked last year on the album launch of Tom Middleton. He's from Global Communication. The project is called GCOM. Loads of people involved on the show. So there's Kimba, Susie, Sarah, Rue, Mixmaster Morris from Ninja Tune, Stuart Warren Hill, and Lucas and I worked on lights and visuals. So Lucas is a close friend of mine, working on quite a lot of projects, and yeah, we were asked to work on this show with him, which is here. So this year is a tribute to Cape Ross, an IDM legend from France. He passed away quite young, a few years ago. It was amazing to have IDM, to be involved in an IDM show, or in a show where they're playing IDM, and then in the Jazz Cafe in Camden. It's really hard to find places with this kind of music, and it was pretty insane. Like that track. So the next one is a show for Prada. There were 4 visual artists asked to play at the Tate Modern last year. It was created by Richie Horton. It started over Mono, when teamed up with Rebel Overlay, Hi and me, Richie Horton and Joel, and OK Williams and Laurie. So that was the setup. There are four setups arranged in a circle. You have a DJ setup. Behind the DJ was an LED wall, and opposite was the same setup, but during the show, a visual artist was playing there and basically saw what was running behind the DJ. So if you work with LED walls, make sure you put the brightness down. I think we blinded some people during that show. So I was using touch and notch on this setup. So everything was running in real time. Let's put the music on again. Right. So I'm working really close together with a friend of mine. He's a fantastic lighting designer, Lucas. We created a lucid river, which you can see in Dalston, in Haggerston, at Otherworld. So we built these tables in 3D and let artificial liquid basically running on this table along. The tables are mapped with 8 projectors. Each table is 3.5 meters long, so you have 14-meter long projection. You can see it during the day, but when you go there in the evening, it's definitely nicer. So the lights and the visuals are synced together. When the visuals are changing, the lights are changing as well. So a little bit later, we worked on another site, which is Otherworld and Victoria. Everything what you see, which is blinking, that was us basically. On this one, we worked together with Harish, who is a fantastic lighting specialist, LED specialist. He invented more or less like all these crazy candles. Everything is hand soldered. I was working on the projections, and we obviously were working with a team of a lot of helpers. There on this site, you can just go in there and have a drink, so you don't need to book a game. But the games are quite fun as well. Here is the same. Everything is connected together, so the lights and the visuals are changing with simultaneously. So this year is the latest one. It's in Birmingham. We have projections on both sides, 50 meter times 350 high, roughly. We worked again with like other people together. We have Ed, Nat, and Bevis, and the same crew as before, like Lucas, Hersh, and I. So yeah, if you're ever in Birmingham, you can go in there for a drink. It comes out of a machine. It's better than you think, actually. Oh yeah. Then we worked on a piece for the Barbican, Our Time on Earth, what you can see right now. Had loads of people involved in there. It's created by Franklin Till, a collaboration project between Colombian ecologist Brigitte Baptista and the Institute of Digital Fashion. So Graham Keith and I worked on the coding part of it. So using touch and notch, we used two Kinects, two Kinects Azure. Later on, Neil Coughlin came on board as well, like a specialist in Houdini. So in this year is a work in process, if you want, or like a previous version of that piece. It looks very different now, but there are still some traces from that development. Yeah, I think that's it. There's more work, but it would take too long, and there are no slides for the work. Thank you very much. The set is from Valentino Mora again, Parallel Festival 2018, if you like it. If you want to collaborate, send me a message, or any questions, send me a message as well. Thank you very much.
Sure. So if anyone here want to ask a question, I'll probably ask a question first, like because like for the project in the other word, and you mentioned that you have 8 projector on the table. Is it all running live or just like?
No,
And is it all the projector run through one machine?
It's not running in real time. The one in Haggerston, the other sites are running in real time.
I mean the
Um,
one in Islington, like the one in London, that one. Like with the long table and then
The one with the tables,
Yeah.
that's not running in real time.
and it's all come through from one
from one machine. I know.
how?
I know. It was like there were loads of obstacles on that installation, but yeah, it worked out in the end. We want to do it in real time first, but it depends on. It always depends. Like real time, it really depends on what kind of machines you have there, what outputs you have. So you quite. It depends. You can get limited quite quickly. I think that was only a 2080. So for 8 projectors, it was. Oh God, we wish it was not a data path. We used quite a few triple head. Yeah, that didn't help. It worked, but it brings its own problems with it.
It just reached the highest limit of that graphic card, right?
Sorry?
It just reached the highest limit of the graphic card, and probably you need like the CPU to run through that.
Yes, yeah.
Understood.
Again, like it really depends on the budget of how much you can invest into the graphics card, or in your machines, how everything is set up. Some things are in your control, some things are not in your control. So you have to work with what you get, basically, what the client is happy to provide.
And we have some questions from the online streaming, and there's one is which machine was rendering the real time in the product visual for the product? Which machine is running? Yeah.
So for the product visuals, it was just my laptop. The laptop just has a 1070, so that's really like pushing that machine. It was really hot after that product gig, but yeah, it worked out.
Okay, and the other question is, I think that it appears when you demonstrate the other word in Bristol, in Birmingham. Bristol.
In Birmingham.
In Birmingham, sorry. And like for those projectors, you rent it or you own it. It's an easy one.
Sorry.
You rent those projector or you have those projectors.
Sorry. So all these installations, these are permanent installations. So yeah, they are fixed, installed in there.
And is there any more questions? All right, so let's. Okay.
The particle system on the last visuals, was it Touch Designer?
There's Touch Designer, yeah. So Touch Designer, hang on. So it depends. There are two particle systems in there. One was Touch and the other one is Notch. So there's one part. God.
One was with the bodies, when there were bodies like
That
in
was
space.
that was in GLSL. That was what Graham worked on. Yeah.
It was a GLSL shader inside Touch.
Yes.
And there was another one with like a flower when the particles aggregated around like a shape.
That was in Notch, but like brought back into Touch. So we tried something out and it actually worked. We thought it wouldn't work, but it actually did. It's like sort of almost a feedback loop. So you tried, we sent something into Notch, create a Notch block, and put it back into Touch. So it gets like an input inside from Touch into Notch, and then create a Notch block and put that Notch block back into Touch, and everything's running in Touch in the end. But there's a Notch block in there. Everything is controlled in Ableton. So Graham did an amazing work, like controlling everything, the whole project in Ableton. He wrote the music as well, or the sound. The sound is still the same, what you can hear in the Barbican.
It looks really, really kind of magic. And I guess there's like an attractor inside Notch that you were using an attractor kind of shape to gather the particles, or it was not your part, so you
No,
don't know the details.
I was working on that part.
Yeah.
So I created geometry and changed that geometry that emitted the particles.
It was the emitter.
Yes, yeah. And it was connected to the Kinect, so the data from the Kinect we got from Touch, that got fed into Notch, where the things are flying around basically, or like when you move and the blossom will start like changing around. Yeah, that thing unfortunately has been taken out from the current installation.
Cool.
So yeah.
Thanks.
So thanks, Hanzo, for being our first speakers.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And should we?
The process of how scientists travel.
So next one is Sherry Young, and she can introduce herself. So I'm gonna give the mic to her.
And hello everyone, my name is Sherry and I'm glad to join the Touch Designer meetup today. Actually, I started the Touch Designer from last year. I joined the Lu Yang's Touch Designer workshop. So today I'm happy to share my learning experience in Touch Designer as beginner here. The project I want to share today is the work I did with my friend Xi Yan last year when we first tried Touch Designer. First introduce myself. My name is Sherry Young, and I'm currently studying at Design for Performance and Interaction at Ballet. And I'm also a designer with interdisciplinary background in architecture, installation design, and XR design. There are some works I did both in schools and in some studio in China. Back to the project itself. This project called SL Lighting 15s, and the work is an interactive multi-person online chat room with the theme of saving the moon. Participants are taken back to the Lighting 15s to communicate with the moon and save it to their blue power. And because we create this project in a context of epidemic, so we choose the teams to interactive with the moon. So how does it narrate? Based on our research, we found some interesting themes that at a certain period of time, human beings began to colonize the moon and began to stigmatize the moon. This include the belief that the moon was evil and the desire to occupy or destroy it. So we want to invite participants to go into the 1915s to hear the story of the moon, including the record of ancient moon form and the research on moon communication, and also tell people the story about the moon colonization. And we want participants to get involved in saving the moon or talking to the moon through these interactive mini games. In the terms of interaction design, everyone is guided to interactive with the moon through moonlight paper in teams. So why we choose the moonlight paper? Because in ancient China, people burst moonlight paper to convey the image and words to the paper to the moon. I think it's a way to talk with the moon in ancient China. As the game process, the more participants pick up the moonlight paper or any blue objects to their cameras in teams, the more blue pixels will be recognized, and this will affect the brightness of the moon. It's a multi-person interactive game in teams using the camera detect in teams and screen grab detect in Touch Designer. For the elements, we choose 3 elements. The first one is tides, and the second one is the moon itself, and the third one is the color blue. And as we all know, the rise and fall of the tides are directly influenced by the changes in the orbit of the moon. And I also think that blue is about the moon's imagination and dreams. Here are some screenshots. Last year we recorded. It's about how changes the main theme and how the story is telling. I'll show the recording video to you to understand what is will work in teams.
Welcome to the SL 1950s project. According to some reliable historical information and research, we found that there were many experiments and operations planned to destroy the moon, especially around the 1950s. As we all know, the moon is closely related to the tides and ecological environment on the Earth. So the core goal of this project is to build up connections with the moon and try to save it. And also, I want to mention that all content in our presentation is programmed and performed in Touch Designer, so that to show a more coherent and complete story. According to the records in different civilizations, Luna was believed to be a life form that can freely change its shape. For example, in the North Germanic civilization, the moon is described as a wolf, constantly chasing and gnawing on its illuminous part. In ancient China, people burned moonlight paper to convey the images and words on the paper to the moon. Communication with the moon required complete ceremony and multi-person cooperation. So this is the core source of inspiration for the implementation of this plan. We'll use Teams as the medium, screen grab to obtain data input to achieve multi-person interaction in this isolated state. Later, with the awakening of the scientific spirit, people turned to the moon as the object of scientific research. As you can see, this film is called The Trip to the Moon, which tells the process of how scientists travel to the moon, which is also known as the world's first science fiction short film. And due to humans' excessive curiosity, there's a tendency to explore, invade, and even attack the moon. And later, people began to combat the resources on the moon, launch the moon war, and even plan to carry out the research of nuclear weapon test explosion on the surface of the moon. So it will definitely lead to serious damage, and some lunar structures will be blasted off the surface of the moon. And also, in some movies, there are also bad guys trying to steal the moon, like this Despicable Me. These two pictures are the Moonlight paper just mentioned. The participants can either save the image in the phone and show it towards the cam on the computer, or they can just use the horizontal view as the chatting background in Teams. So this is our main scene. The blue color affects the vitality of the moon, and the more the blue pixels, the more complete the moon and the more active the tides will be. If there is a serious lack of blue, the moon and tides will disappear completely, and the moon pieces will fly out. So the text in the middle will look like the wreckage of the moon.
Yes, this is how the people can interaction with the moon in Teams. They will choose the moonlight to the camera, and it will change the color of the tides and the brightness of the moon, and also the shape of the tides, something like that. It's a very melee game that everyone can interact with moon in Teams. I want to talk something about my feeling about when I learned the Touch Designer. I think Touch Designer is a very powerful and perfect software for the designer to accomplish some virtual things, because it don't need the very hard coding, and it's easy to get started, and you can have different types of components, and we can transfer different data to another software, like we can translate the data in the Touch Designer to the Arduino or something like that. And for my project, the fall into Touch Designer function is very helpful. One is color recognition, because this is a main point for the interaction method. And for another is a vision texture overlay, and it will make the test actually more beautiful. Yes, that's all for my project. Thank you for listening, and may the lights will fall on your hearts. Thank you.
So if anyone want to ask questions?
Hi, so this is a really interactive and playful project. You said you developed this project while you learn this machine. So I want to ask, what is the biggest difficulty you faced, and how did you overcome both when you are learning Touch Designer and also you developing this project?
Actually, I didn't have. I think I have, because I did this for like 2-week workshop, I need to choose a very simple concept for this and to develop it. So maybe the concept is a very important thing in this program. And I think how to deal with this is not very difficult, because there are a lot of Touch Designer community, and there are a lot of tutorial video in YouTube or something like that. And I think it's easy for the beginner to try this software. It's very amazing, like as did a lot of amazing projects.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? Or okay, Mash.
Very cool. I wanted to ask how the idea about the specific interaction came with the blue color. Did you have this idea since the beginning that you will use the color detection?
Yeah.
Or you tried some other interactions and they didn't work?
Actually, we decided to use the color detection at very beginning because we just think at the first time we chose the moon because we found a lot of story about moon and it's very beautiful themes and we try to find which is linked to the moon the elements for example the tides and the blue is a direct color we remember about the moon. So as a first time, because this project is based on the teams, we need to help people to have a simple interaction method in teams. So maybe the color recollection is I think it's a very good idea.
Yeah. And were you satisfied with the interaction, like how the whole sort of performance went? Were people having fun? Did you think something could be improved, or what was your thoughts about the result?
After this project, I and my teammates actually want to make it more like installation and space installation. So maybe we can have the real moon in the middle of the space, and we can invite some dancer to like performers or to interactive with the moon and the visual things will around them. But I don't have enough time to do like this. Maybe in the future we have the chance we will do this. Thank you.
Cool, thanks.
All right, thanks, Sherry.
In the future we have the chance.
And as for the next speaker is Ian Callender, who probably at the moment is driving to his brother's wedding in US. So he cannot be here, but he record a video to demonstrate like the whole project. I've been trying this project before. It's just the first time because it's all through the workshops or through the pandemic, everyone's working remotely and through Teams. And so when they first time showing me this project and I interactive with the Touch Designer project from my Zoom, it was quite it's quite amazing. So I'm gonna just play the video, and thanks for Ian to spend the time to record the whole thing.
Hey Liang, thank you so much for inviting us to present this project at this workshop. It's really meaningful to get the opportunity to talk about it again and come back to it after just a little bit. I'm sorry that I can't be there with you in person. I know Johan feels similarly. Family wedding, but nonetheless, thank you for letting us share this video or these thoughts. The project was developed in early 2021 out of the Design for Performance and Interaction program at the Bartlett. We had spent a lot of time in the weeks and months leading up to our work in Touch Designer, working on the senses, or talking about the senses, or human embodiment, the sort of human experience, very physically and literally in the world, our situatedness. And so as we approached this project, we knew we wanted to work on something as we approached this collaboration, we knew we wanted to work on something that was very heavily rooted in the human experience, or I guess the resultant vector of sensoria, which is emotion. And it was. I think the other side of it is that we were working on this collaboration in the middle of a pandemic, still under lockdown or some semblance of a lockdown. The program was still fully virtual and online, and so Johan and I were coordinating across a 5-hour time difference, a 6-hour. Was it a 5 or a 6? Sorry, it goes back and forth because of daylight savings, but regardless, it was a large time difference across the Atlantic Ocean. So I would start my day when she was finishing hers, or we would work on this basically 24 hours a day, just sort of at other ends of the spectrum. But so we were both in this sort of emotionally charged state and wanting to work in emotion. So we took these two comps or these two sources of inspiration. First, the Crying Book by Heather Christie, and second, ELIZA, the first REPL system, or maybe it's not the first REPL system, but the first sort of human emotion inspired REPL system, right? Precursor to AI, what we're experiencing or dealing with now in large part. In both contexts, dealing with emotion, or the Crying Book, really what it means to express, what it means to emote, what it means to share yourself really vulnerably, to let yourself cry or to experience the full range of those emotions. And then with ELIZA, what it means to do that with a computer, or what it means to do that with a digital system that isn't necessarily, it's artificial intelligence, right? That's what we're grappling with. So the system, anyway, to move into the practical aspects of it, we really started to think about Touch Designer and leveraging it as a tool, not necessarily in and of itself, but sort of as the sort of grounding or unifying leg of a multi-part installation. When we decided that we wanted to work with natural language processing, speech to text, and emotion detection, we very quickly realized that those were things that we needed to tie in via APIs that weren't necessarily intrinsic to Touch Designer systems. So yeah, we ended up using a Python script in conjunction with in conjunction with Google Speech Services, as well as an emotion detection system called Parallel Dots. The interaction of all of these systems into the Touch Designer workflow was what allowed us to create this sort of world of experience or responsive emotion. So the installation, or the piece rather, has all of these dynamic aspects that respond to what you're saying. It will take a sentence, it'll take what it hears, it'll start to piece it apart through these multi-part interactions, and respond to it in a very direct way, through the size of the particle system, or the expansiveness of it, the size of the particles, the speed of rotation, like all of these different dynamic elements that start to respond to and really it really is respond to, right? It's not just give back to you, but it's represent, it's change, it's sort of effectively hug or accept, embrace the emotional state that you're putting out there. So it became equal parts hard skills of coding and Touch Designer coding, and also sort of going deep emotional. What is it that we would want to see when we experience this state? What is it that would either pull us out of it or help us cope with it, or really experience our emotions fully, or embrace our emotions fully. It was a blast to get to work on this project. And when we worked in Touch Designer itself, when we were connecting all of the pieces of code, when we were connecting the entire script, we thought of it as these sort of, we really broke it down, right, into these unitized chunks. It was first, okay, let's do the speech recognition, which really just means interface with that Python script, which is creating post requests to Google Speech Services. Cloud Docs is their, or Cloud Services, right? That's their version of AWS or whatever. taking that, running it through a whole another sort of chunk of creating post requests to parallel dots, getting those results back in JSON. It's just a series of happiness, this value, sadness, this value, anger, this value, excitement, this value. And then working in the next chunk, working with those variable values to influence a particle system and really try to figure out what's going on and how we want to craft that visual experience. And then of course there is the literal text sort of that floats back into the system itself. So there's a whole other aspect of making sure that the speech capture was not just happening in touch in the Python script, but actually in Touch Designer or being ported correctly to be able to refer to it at a later time. Yeah, it was a really meaningful process and project to get to work on. It was a really poignant collaboration. I think that was one of the smoothest and sort of most fluid experiences that I've ever had working with a partner, and that's full kudos and credit to Johan and being able to coordinate that and sort of go wild and let ourselves explore and have fun with it and not get too constrained. I mean, it's crazy that the whole time frame, the whole time period that we had to work on this was a week. I really do credit it to the time difference that we were able to sort of double up and not step on each other's toes working in the same file. And we sort of got double hours for the entire thing. But yeah, I just want to let me double check, see if there's anything else here that I really wanted to touch on or. Oh right, yeah, there was a whole sound aspect to this too, which I forgot that we pulled. That was fun though, just getting to find a soundtrack that we thought would be meaningful and convey. I think that could be a cool next step actually for the project if we wanted to go back to it. Would be to start to work in terms of sound as well and not just these visuals. But that drone that underlies the entire process or the entire piece, it almost becomes meditative or chant or like a, all right, tries to transport you to this other state where you start to feel a little bit more comfortable. I mean, because that's the whole idea, right? To become more comfortable sharing your emotions or embracing your emotions in a technical environment. Yeah, I don't think the relevance of that is going to go away anytime soon. So, but yeah, I mean, really grateful to you, Liang, and to your workshop that week to be able to work on this project and feeling so inspired and guided. And really wonderful to get to share this project with you guys here today. Please don't hesitate to reach out if you guys if people have questions or comments or want to talk about the project further. I'm sure Liang can share our contact information with you, or just find me on Instagram or something. iCalendar. I didn't introduce myself. I'm Ian. Sorry. Hi. Okay. But yeah, sweet. Enjoy the video and enjoy the rest of the workshop. And thank you again for this opportunity to share it with you.
Can you hear me? I had a bad dream and woke up feeling drained. It made me feel anxious all day. When I keep myself busy, I can suppress the emotions for now. But as soon as I let go, I feel like I'm drowning. I hate the state of the world, but I try to remember all the good things in life, all the friends that I love and admire. One day I will be able to give them a hug. But for now, I will continue to do random acts of meaningless joy until the world has healed again.
So thanks, Ian, to put some time on that, and then we fixed some technical issue. And thanks, James, for doing that. And I think we're gonna skip the question for this one because it's not here. and hope the wedding is perfect and you're gonna enjoy it. And okay. Well, okay. It's me now, and let me just. All right. I'm gonna keep my short and clear because I can see some of you guys are a bit like tired, and as you can see, the topic I want to speak about is deliver a message. As I mentioned before, at the very beginning, I major in architecture, and this was some of my architecture work during the master and also bachelor. Well, the most common question that we gonna face every day is why, and why you wanna do this architecture, why the shape is like this, and what is the narrative of the design, and we just keep being asking about this question. So just like this kind of diagram here is a famous diagram created by a big company called Big, and just like it's a process how a building shape being developed. Maybe for instance, there's a street, so we're probably gonna leave the ground and give this public space back to the citizen. Well, it's not as easy as that. It's just like the process of the design. They probably need to consider the culture, the community, and et cetera, but it's just an example. But since I being educated this way, so after I dive into digital art and new media art, I still keep that habit to ask myself why I do this art, and why what kind of thing I want to express in my artwork, and also what kind of message I want to deliver in my artwork. Therefore, when I want to critique the overwhelming audiovisual experience that forcefully to fit into our mind, and I want to create just like a really calm, infinity space without too much visual, just like a calm sound space. That's why I did like a phono for my graduate project from here. And I want to use light to review that what is happening inside the National Theatre to its outside, to its surface, and because I think the story that happened inside one of the buildings, actually the soul of the building, and then it's a part of the building, just like when the light goes through the stained glass, and is review the story from the Bible, and light up the inside of the church. So that's the message come from. And as for this project I did last year for Nike, and it's a bit like futuristic, and but the message I try to deliver is no matter how the world changed, the spirit of the Olympic game is just keep reach the limits of the human body, and maybe an ending point of a journey is another starting point. I use different software and coding language to do my art. Among those, I use Touch Designer most. So I'm going to dive into this project a bit more today. It's called Away, and I did this last October in Warwick, UK. And this project is obviously a projection mapping, architecture projection mapping project for Myton. Myton Hospice. Myton Hospice is the charity for those old people, and they host art events every year, and this for first is for catching up with the local community, and the second is just memorize those who are not with the family anymore. Well, so this year they found me through Arab, and then they say, okay, they want to do something about this building, which is the Central Library of Warwick. And so we start a conversation, and the only thing they want to achieve is the butterfly. And because this is the same that they use every year, so everything, every art event they're hosting is for butterfly, and because it's their theme and it's their branding. And after they know, okay, it can be a bit interactive, so they talk to me, say that, okay, can we have some faces on this artwork, and so maybe some faces from the local community, just build up a bit of connection of the artwork and the community. So I said, well, yeah, it's achievable definitely with Touch Designer. For the butterfly, we can just code some flocking behavior and particles, and then we can attach FBX with a butterfly waving and use some LFO chop to control the wave of the wind. And as for faces, it's easy because we can use texture instancing to attach each of the faces on those grid. And so it's definitely achievable. Now the problem is like what is the image they want to show on this mosaic effect. So Myton, they start to gather all the images from the local community. However, like things getting a bit complicated when I actually receive all the images. It's actually 408 image, and they mentioned to me those images are the local family loved one. Well, I still remember like the time when I take the Dropbox link and download it and unzip it, and I see there's more than 400 faces, and I suddenly feel like the heaviness, and also I think it's the responsibility of creating this project, because there's more than 400 pieces of memory there. And then it's exactly the same time that there's idea bumping into my mind is, why not we combine those faces with those butterfly? And what if we can create a sort of letting go feeling of for those family who lost their loved one? And yeah, so that is the message, and I want to deliver from here. So I just combine those images with the butterfly, and here's the result of it. share a bit more of my mindset for this project. So at the very beginning, when I got it, and then is butterfly plus faces. Yeah, it's achievable. That's cool. And then when I received those images, I feel, well, this is it's another story anymore, and because like I still starting to feel that there's some memory I can protect from for those family, and just another story behind is we're gonna do some pre-render for those video, and another colleague gonna help me to check if anyone faces is just showing on each of the butterfly, just check each one of them, and because it's all random, and there's one time even I was super careful about the code I wrote, and my colleague told me, okay, there's a small girl, and who is the daughter of our colleague in the North office, and well, it was not showing on any of the butterfly, and because of my code, and I was just so nervous during the design process. I just want to make sure everyone showing there, like the family, if the family goes on the event, and they can find their family, and this kind of feelings just keep with me when I actually be there during that night, and after I saw this family, at the very beginning they are struggling to find out their family. I don't know who exactly the person is, and after, of course, they found it in the end, and they are chilling and telling their family, okay, yeah, it's there, they're chilling, but it's sooner after they start to hug each other and start to cry, and well, after that, like when they find out, okay, those faces becomes butterfly, they start to wave hand to the art, and wave hand to the butterfly, and just like saying a goodbye to this piece of memory. So I think that was the most meaningful moment for me of creating it, because you can actually you're actually seeing that someone standing there and then tearing and hugging because of the art that you create. It's just so meaningful for me, and at that moment I feel like this kind of happiness just released from me, and also I think this piece of art just bring a tiny bit of memory to them, and release a bit of happiness from them as well. So yeah, it's really meaningful for me. So after that, like Maiten even wrote me a piece of card or a letter, just say thanks for me, and then send me like this kind of piece of metal butterfly, especially for this art. Also, yeah, this is the card, and this is the story that I had, a nice experience I had with Touch Designer and a project last year. So thank you guys for listening. And that's it. And is there any questions?
Thanks, Liam. So I really like your first questions you raised, the question you raised when in the beginning of presentation, like you're asking why, and when you're studying the architecture courses in your university. So I'm really curious. So when you're asking yourself the same question again today, how will be the answer be different? Like when you're asking yourself why you're doing architecture and why you are doing this, like the new media arts for now, how the answer will be different? Thank you.
Why doing architecture? All right. For me, why doing architecture? Well, because I want, during that time, I just want to do something design related, and I major in scientific in high school. So that's a choice. It's kind of combined with a bit of scientific, a bit of artistic. That's why I did that. I'm still really happy that I did that because architecture is like a really complicated thing, and because you need to consider loads of things together to come out like one piece of work. And as for why I switched to digital art, first of all, well, it's a long story, but like keep it short. It's like I from architecture, I know that I love to do something visual, and I love to creating things in the scale that I can control, rather than like architecture. You cannot just do the whole architecture and hope it can be built up. So that is the reason. Yeah, for your answer. I hope that makes sense. Yeah. Or anyone from online.
I have a question because I'm also from architecture background, and I always find there are some different approaches to develop design. For example, some people might want to be to make something cool, something really splendid, something flourishing, and to shock people at the first sight. But I always struggle with if that makes sense and why would I do that like this. How do you think of these two sides, and is that something relevant to the architecture background?
Well, it's just different way of creating. I think for a good art or good project, like there's this exactly two sides. I like both way, but normally I'm gonna just use my own way, like finding the meaning behind, finding the thing I really want people to get from the art. And another is like pure cool. For instance, well, the architecture from Zaha Hadid, well, it's just pure beauty. You cannot say anything about it. And when you speak to them, well, okay, why you don't consider the community? Why you consider the surrounding? And then they say, okay, the surrounding is a piece of crap. Why I need to merge with them? So that's how she did her architecture. So it's pure beauty. You have no reason. You're gonna be just attracted by the visual, attracted by the shape. It's just pure beauty. There's no reason about it. But the other side is that you can find a reason, and then you can restore it. Just like this project, I think that the graphic and it's really objective, as you guys can see, just butterfly. It's not like crazy, amazing rendering like from there, but the audience they got the message. So I think that's cool as well. So yeah, that's my answer.
Thank you.
How did you simulate the flocking behavior?
Well, that is based on one of the code I learned a long time ago. It's actually I've started to develop it from back to 2019, and I don't quite remember, but I can send you the link
Okay.
later
Thanks.
because also there's I think there's another advanced flocking tutorial that is on YouTube that I recently checked. That one is way much better than this one because but it used some GLSL
Yeah,
shader.
I was wondering if it was
Yeah.
something complicated or based on some
For this one, it's
simpler
not the
concept.
GLSL. It's just a few chop to link together, and there's another one like it's better than this, but I don't quite remember. I can
No,
I can
better.
send you.
It's all right. I was interested in yours. So you first created channels and chop
Mhm.
network,
Mm-hmm.
and then you combine them to create positions for the butterflies.
Yeah, and as for the butterfly pieces, just like 3 grid, and then the grid just do wave like this. So and I use 2FO to control the
But they
waving.
don't all flap the wings at the same time, right?
Well,
that should
I
be
use
offset.
a trick to go through it because like there's a tons of butterfly. If they all waving
exactly.
in a same frequency, it's gonna be so weird. So that's why I create like just duplicate field channel, change some parameter here, and then so they have 5 groups of butterfly with instancing. So they like those 5
Are
sets.
flapping the same.
Yeah, they're in the same. But if you see this as a whole, it doesn't look the same. So
That's smart. Cool. Thank
just
you.
a way to get around with the GLSL.
Yeah. Thanks.
All right. So I think there's no more question from you guys and also from online. And thanks again for James and Chi for helping me today. Just a bit of shout out for them. It's their Instagram and personal website for this time. And thanks for your help. Thanks for all of you guys to come over in person. And keep watching the YouTube. And we will have like more meetup, formally or informally. We can just come over and grab the computer, ask each other questions, and feel free to reach out all the speakers and join the meetup. And yeah, that's it. Thanks, guys.